Part 4. I think now that it would be a wise decision to go with the flow rather than trying hard to swim against it. So hereby I declare the onset of a new chapter, a chapter of crush. Wait, that's a bit of arrogance here? Leave it. Rather, I want you all to sense a punch of sarcasm here, because I'm not going to describe here about her, that is Alfia, rather of the crushes I had in the past. Though I just said a moments ago that I don't care about the past, but I would have to show you the past in this chapter, or maybe just a little glimpse of it, because I myself don't remember all the events of the past. Forgive me if I sound a bit hypocrite. It's just so that I want you to enjoy the story with a bit of background knowledge and tips, just so that you could grab my hand if I tried to jump straight off a cliff of these chain of events. So, with all these things said and done, let's leave the story of Alfia with a statement that, till this moment in the story, she is still my crush. And let's move to another completely different color of reality, the past. Actually, my past, specifically crushes of my past. Before moving any further, there's just a last tip that I want to give you, and that is the definition of a crush. I don't happen to have the patience to check the dictionary for the term and find out its hidden meaning, but I sure do think that it would be best if I give my own understanding of the term crush over here. Because that's the only way I could see myself doing justice with my past. Isn't that what judges do in the court all day? Ranting about some random stranger and his past so that they could make the stranger's life miserable in a just way. Yes, there's a way that this term gives a newer meaning to misery. Would it be just if I come out of the blue and try to punch you right in the nose? Well, maybe not, but it surely would be miserable. However, if you come out of the blue and try to choke me, trying to suck the soul out of my body, then it surely would be just, and at the same time, miserable to you as well. So maybe that's the kind of thing that goes on in the court of law. And here I stand in front of my own court of law, ranting about my past and trying to make it miserable in a just way. So please bear with me. A crush is simply an attractive force or aura, whether it be in the form of person you know or the ones you don't even know the names of, leave seeing the person face to face. In day-to-day life, the word crush has been used wrongfully, at least according to this court. For example, a girl watching a television sees a handsome actor and makes a mind and says, "He's my crush," without even knowing what that meant. Same goes for guys as well. Similarly, anyone seeing a random newspaper or a magazine goes on ranting about the crush he or she had with the model on the paper. Well, that might be true in their beliefs, but in this court of mine, where I am about to dissect my past, that's completely a false allegation. For me, a crush is someone whose inner beauty attracts me, regardless of the outer face. By the term inner beauty, I mean the person's nature or persona, because though at a first glance I might like the face of any random stranger, I might not like the nature of the individual, at least until I get to know the person. So, after a certain time, the face is not going to be a factor for attracting me to the person, but the beautiful persona or aura that I get with the person is surely going to be an attractive factor for me, irrespective of time. So, that kind of long-term attraction because of the person's nature is what I tend to define as a crush over this court of mine. It's just what I believe is permissible in the hearings of my past and have no inner despair whatsoever over anyone's differing ideas regarding this topic. Thus starts my hearing of the past and my crushes of the past. Before starting, I hereby swear to tell the truth, only truth and nothing else than truth, except the conditions where I would be under compulsion of hiding or distorting the facts for others' self-esteem. However, I will claim with surety that I will try my best to give you the gist of matter in such cases. Counting up on number 1, I had a crush once on my school days. I was there in grade 9. Our school used to have this strange rule of swapping the students from one section to another. I didn't used to like it. I thought that it was with the sole purpose of irritating me, but I don't know what adversity the school had with me. Maybe it was for the better bonding of students with each other, which apparently is my thought now, but remember, it was not so then. Till grade 8, I was in the same section with the same friends, but when grade 9 started, the students were swapped randomly in different sections and I was moved from section A to C. I felt quite stranded, though I had some of my friends still in the new section, but I lost most of them in another section. You can guess how I must have felt during the first few months of this new section, given the fact that you know about my introvertism, to some extent at least. So I was quite sad and had no interest in anything for the first few months. My grades started to go through a downfall. Till grade 8, I was a brilliant student at school. At least that's what my teachers believed. Because one day my class teacher came to me and asked if I had any problems in the new section. I had a lot, but in fact, when he asked me, I was unable to say anything and lied. No sir, I'm completely fine. I think it is just taking me some time to fit into this new environment. Listening me say so, he said with an empathetic tone, "Oh my boy, you don't need to worry too much. You'll do just fine, I know it. Anyways, just look around you. They are all your friends, aren't they?" I had no other alternatives than to give him a faint smile and say, "Yes sir, they are." And after that was the compulsion to give him an assuring look, or maybe that's what I did. Don't know how well that seemed, but it worked just fine. He left me alone after that and went to his office. It was recess time, so I was free to move around the corridors and the ground. So I went back to the class to grab my lunchbox. Just then, yes, just then, I noticed a girl. Or maybe, for that time, I felt like the girl. Yes, that's what I thought, at least. The atmosphere of the classroom was quite serious, with a lot of chaos going on, especially with the rough running and the swearing that was going on. I was just tired of this kind of nonsense going on in the class on every recesses. I never liked to join these kinds of petty nuisance. Actually, they made me fear of the teacher more than the fun provided by them. What if anyone sees me? How would I be punished? These were the kinds of questions that ran into my mind the second I wanted to get involved in these kinds of chaos. I was a disciplined kid, or at least that was my reputation in the school then. So, with a lot of thought, I tried my best to avoid these kinds of nuisance. But to my despair, I was unable to do it today. I was actually dragged into the middle of this nuisance rather than voluntarily stepping into it. The situation was tense. As I moved from the entrance towards my desk, which was situated just opposite the door, I was caught in passage, somewhere between the front seat of middle rows of benches and the whiteboard. I was moving rapidly towards my seat, where I had placed my bag, but just then I was called upon by another guy on the far end of the middle row. With a loud exclamation of my name, he just threw out something which appeared like a school bag towards my direction. I happened to catch it, but believe me, it was just a sudden reflex, not a thought process, because deep there in my mind, I was trying to avoid it as much as I could. The boy throwing the bag towards me was one of the known notorious guy in the batch called Sandeep. I especially got this stench of wickedness and immorality whenever I was near him. Actually, that's what I felt about him, but then my thoughts on him are not so much relevant here as compared to the thoughts on this situation. So let's get back. As I had already been dragged into this situation, I tried to analyze the situation, and with my analysis, or let's say inspection of the situation, I came to infer following fact to what the situation actually was. Sandeep had taken the girl's school bag and was planning to do something atrocious with it, given the Sandeep's history of ill deeds, and now he had thrown the bag to me so that I could play along with him in his misdeed. Now, in this situation, my smartest move was just to stand there staring in awe. Well, actually not the smartest move after all, but that's what I did at the moment. I could see the girl running towards me with utter disbelief and disgust. I don't know why, but I could think nothing. I just grasped the bag carefully and returned it to her the moment she reached me. I gave her a reassuring look and to Sandeep a furious one. Though I exactly don't know why I did so, but there was a plus point to it. I didn't get involved in this nuisance even after getting involved in it. Plus, I also got a stage built up for the talk with this girl. She was panting now, with sweats dripping over her forehead and blood engorging her fair face. Her face looked red like an apple, metaphorically though. By the apple appearance, I remembered that I had come to take my lunchbox, but again I remembered that at the same time, I had no lunchbox today. Rather, I had an apple. Yeah, you heard it correct, an apple. Though the apple might not have been a panting or guess far less furious than she was at the moment, but after all, it was an apple. I couldn't help but laugh at the similarity, so I laughed my soul out. What at the time must have been the loudest laughter the class might have heard. After a moment of laughter, did I realize that it was not an appropriate time for it, so I pulled back the laughter into my mouth and kept it shut, but it was far too late for it. The girl, who several moments ago had a sigh of relief, was just as much furious now, and was starting to scold me with whatever words she could find. I was now sad. Not because of the scoldings, because the words were absolutely fine, with no extent to family or to copulation. Yes, you heard it right, copulation. If you just focus, you may find that most of the words that are there for scolding just turns out to be synonym of the same theme, and that is copulation. Whatever language you look at, the most terrorized and unjustified theme is copulation. I just don't get it, why everyone is so offended with the theme of copulation, though it is one of the natural process, just as sleeping or eating. Maybe not that much, but I'm sure you get the gist, right? So, I think sometimes about why people get so much offended when someone scolds them with the words on the themes of copulation, but not when someone scolds them with the same kinds of words on other natural processes. For example, farewell bloody fucker. This would be an insult, but farewell bloody eater wouldn't. So this leads me to questioning the literal meaning of the words obscene, slang and rough words. But let's leave it for another discussion. Where was I? Yes, into the fact that I was not sad because of the scolding, but because I had completely wrecked the stage I had set for the conversation between her and me to start. Maybe the conversation was never meant to be. That's exactly how I consoled myself, but that didn't last long enough. I was sad after all. So, not telling much about the bashing I got from her, I would conclude here saying that it is not an act itself, but the situation and intention which is all there for judging as good or bad. Unfortunately, our misfortune lies in the fact that intentions cannot be documented with purity, and at the same time, situations can be manipulated with surety.